Hello, this is Cyan,
And I'm Magenta.
and today we got a lot of fun stuff. This is going to be Laura Ingraham with Yasmin Ansari. She's a member of the United States House of Representatives, and I wanted to go over this clip. It got a little bit of coverage on the internet, but happened a couple of days ago. Laura Ingraham is, or even her own brother said that basically she's like a neo-Nazi essentially, and her own brother disowned her a couple of years ago. Says she's insane.
Hmm.
So this is Yasmin Ansari pushing back on Laura Ingraham a little bit, and it goes off the rails very quickly. And the reason I wanted to cover this is just so you can kind of see Laura Ingraham's reaction and how I find a lot of MAGA reacts when you give them any pushback at all. This is
Mhm.
sort of enigmatic of that whole thing, and it's fantastic.
After Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris like a drum in November, Democrats needed a reset. They needed to reconnect with the middle of the country, middle America. They needed to.
Real quick, Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris like a drum. It was like 1.5%, and he didn't even win the most. Like he won a plurality, not a majority.
Yeah.
It was under 50%.
Yeah.
And basically like 23% of people in the country voted for him with our voter turnout. So beat him like a drum. Let's calm down.
Reconnect with them, not repel them. And what better way to do that than to carry the torch for a deported illegal alien gangbanger who they want undeported immediately?
I am here in El Salvador with a group of House Democrats advocating for the release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia.
We also had the opportunity to meet with U.S. Embassy officials to express our concerns about the treatment of Kilmar Andri and the hundreds of others who have been illegally imprisoned in El Salvador.
We went to make sure that we could advocate for the release of Abrego Garcia.
In a dramatic rush, four House Democrats, Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia, Maxine Dexter, and Yassamin Ansari, traveled to El Salvador to check on Mr. Abrego Garcia, who is being held at the CCOT Supermax prison amidst an ongoing legal battle over whether he must be returned. Joining me now is Arizona Congresswoman Yassamin Ansari. Congresswoman.
Okay. The reason I want to get into that real quick. The reason the right is so upset and they say that the left just wants to bring back a deported criminal in their mind.
And a legal alien, which we've already determined he is not.
I don't care if Kilmar Abrego Garcia is the worst criminal on the planet. None of that matters.
No.
He was told he cannot be deported to El Salvador. He was deported to El Salvador without having his deportation notice. I don't care if he comes back and is immediately, once his deportation notice, his hearing is done, if he's sent back right away. I don't care at all. That's not about that at all.
No.
If he's a bad person, good guy, whatever, that does not matter at all in this. This is 100% about due process. He didn't have his deportation hearing. He wasn't put in front of a judge. He did not go through the due process.
Absolutely. And honestly, he hasn't been deported. He's been sent directly to prison
Yeah.
from the US to a foreign country.
It's called exile. It's when you send someone from one country to another country to prison directly. You can't do that in the United States.
No.
But the reason that they're pushing it so hard is because fascists don't like pushback, obviously, because it's an authoritarian movement, right?
Yes.
So what they do is they throw out these buzzwords and different things like, illegal alien, criminal, this and that. Oh, you want him to come back? You want him to commit more crimes? Because their arguments are so thin that they have to go to the extreme all the time to justify what they're doing because they know it's unjustifiable.
Right.
So they have to go to the extreme all the time. That's why I have not heard anybody saying that anyone who matters. I mean, I'm sure there's people, you had the Maryland dad story where it's like he was just a Maryland dad laborer picked up off the street, whatever, deported. Even if none of that is true and he is a hardened criminal, I don't care. He has to come back and he has to do his due process. If he is found guilty of whatever and a judge decides to deport him back, send him back the next day.
But also not directly to prison.
Yeah.
Send him back, and then he's free to be in El Salvador and either leave to go somewhere else that is safe
Yeah.
or whatnot. But at the same time, we're all focused on this one person that may or may not be criminal. And we're not, like, some people are mentioning it, but it's not being brought up enough that this entire process is illegal and none of these people should have been deported directly to this prison in El Salvador. None of this is correct. None of them had the due process either.
There was a new study that 75 to 80% of the people who have been deported generally have not committed a crime.
Mhm.
Their only crime is the civil violation of entering the country illegally.
Right.
Or some of them have even come for asylum seeking and have still been deported, which is not illegal. That is the process. The
Yes.
process for asylum is you leave your country, you walk to the United States, or you fly in, whatever, if you're lucky enough, and you say, I'm here to seek asylum. Then you are put through the system where they decide if you're granted asylum. In that time, you are not committing any crimes
Right.
by going through that process. The process is you have to get here to claim asylum.
Yeah, you can't apply for asylum ahead of time, wait for it to be
Yeah.
granted, and then come.
No.
That's not how that
So this is
works.
100% following the law. But I just want to make that quick point about fascists, how they hate pushback
Mhm.
because they are a true authoritarian movement. And if you push back on them, you're questioning authority. And that's all this is about.
Thank you very much for being here. We're going to see where this legal process takes this, as I said the other night, and I understand your view on that point. But what was your point in traveling to El Salvador? Senator Van Hollen had just been there.
So to me, there is nothing more American than due process and the rule of law. The fact that Donald Trump is defying a 9-0 Supreme Court order that has said very clearly that the United States government must facilitate the return of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is extremely, extremely important. And the fact that the president continues to defy that.
One more quick thing. So the 9-0 Supreme Court ruling, Trump was asked about it. And there's a lot of thought that Trump really thinks they won that Supreme Court ruling, even though it was definitely not in his favor. Stephen Miller keeps saying it's in their favor because they had to facilitate him coming back, right? The Supreme Court ruling was you have to facilitate his return, meaning speak, with El Salvador, start the process, basically get him back here, facilitate it. You don't have to enact it, meaning you don't have to go get him. You just have to get him process of starting for him to come back. Okay.
Okay.
And they haven't started that process at all. Stephen Miller and some of his staff keep saying that they won the Supreme Court because they don't have to immediately go get him back. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying,
It's a
but none of this makes sense. This is so stupid.
It's a pedantic argument. But Trump keeps getting asked about this, and he keeps thinking they won too. So there's a lot of theories going around right now that Trump doesn't even know that he lost this court case. So Trump might be so out of the loop that he doesn't even know that they actually lost this court case 9-0. What I like about this clip, I wanted to say one thing. Yassamin Ansari is going to be questioned kind of hard by Laura Ingraham, and she just keeps pushing back and keeps shutting down all of Laura Ingram's arguments, and it's fantastic.
I thought it was interesting. She's like, what was your point of going there?
Yeah.
One of your guys already was just there, so why are we doing this again?
Yeah.
It's like because he didn't get the answers that he went there for.
Yeah, you don't just give up after asking the first question, although conservatives do.
They do.
That is literally the process. If they want to learn something, they ask one question, they find the first answer online, and then they're like, "Well, that's the answer. I don't need to investigate this anymore."
They see what Google AI told them.
Yeah, literally, or Grok,
Yeah.
the X AI.
That Supreme Court order. To me, this is also a bipartisan issue. We have had a conservative-leaning Supreme Court say that he must be returned, a Reagan-appointed judge say that this should be shocking to every American, and also Joe Rogan, who has said that due process is one of the foundations of our freedom. So I want to make sure that the president abides by the law and actually follows the law.
So just so I understand, I understand your position, but you went to El Salvador because of Joe Rogan, and you think that your trip to El Salvador would somehow deliver due process? And what you think is due process for Mr. Abrego Garcia?
I believe that the president needs to follow the law in this case, and so far he has not done so.
Yeah.
If I could speak,
Congresswoman. Yeah.
It seems like a political stunt.
Yeah, I know. The whole thing's a fucking political stunt on their end.
The whole thing seems like a political stunt. So she's just, why'd you go there? Why'd you go there? Went there to make sure he's still alive.
Yeah.
If we still have American government officials flying to this prison and going to meet this one prisoner, they are ensuring his safety and that he is still alive.
Yeah, well, because there was that one setup interview that they had maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
With Chris Hollins, is that his name?
I think so.
From Maryland, where they put the margaritas in front of him.
Yeah.
To make it seem like he's just at this resort. He said that the staff put the margaritas in front of him to make it look like he's just having this grand old time. And they put him in like nicer street clothes and stuff to make it look like he's, living the life down there essentially.
And not in a maximum security hell prison.
Yeah, exactly. But the other thing too I want to talk about is Laura Ingraham in that little bit that we just watched. I love how they feign the ignorance of not knowing what the other side's argument is by being like, "Oh, what Joe Rogan made you go down there?" Or like, they just that like purposeful ignorance of your argument is so absurd that there's no reason to listen to you because I'm straw manning your argument to make you seem stupid for wanting to do this, even though she clearly articulated the argument and why she's going down there. And that's all they ever do. That's why
Yeah.
that's why I always come back to MAGA is so weak. All they ever do is, you know, um, if you say you're for abortion rights, right? All they ever do is, "Oh, so you want every baby dead?" Like, no,
No.
motherfucker, you know that's not the case.
No.
Or say, you're for gay rights. So they're like, "Oh, so you want everyone to be gay and every kid to be gay, and you want every, pedophile to marry every kid." It's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Those are that has nothing to do with the argument, and they know it doesn't, but they know they have no counter arguments because their arguments are so weak.
Right.
No, I just let
Unfortunately,
you
when the
speak,
president is
I
not
just let
following
you
the law,
speak.
it's very
Yeah, I just let you
important
speak
for
and
members
let-
of Congress.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
I think that
we're talking over
I
each other.
think that
Let me
everyone
just
needs
ask
to
a question, then
continue
you can
drawing-
answer. Okay. Let me ask a
Perfect.
question, then you can answer. Sorry, it's annoying for the viewers. So again, you traveled to all the way to El Salvador. And there are obviously huge problems in Arizona right now. There's huge problems still with dealing with smuggling of drugs and individuals and all the carnage that left behind. But you went to El Salvador to basically make a political point. I mean, Van Halen had just been there and just checked on the individual in question, and he was okay. You would admit that he was okay, correct?
So we actually went with the lawyer of the family, who was very, very grateful. The family themselves put out a statement to say that they are grateful that we went because they are worried that the president is trying to brush this case under the rug. The president made very clear in the Oval Office he has no plans to follow the Supreme Court, and so we are not going to be the last ones to go to El Salvador and demand that the United States government take action. My constituents asked me to do this. Over the last 2 weeks, there's no issue that we have gotten more calls about, more messages about than this issue, because I represent a very diverse community, and people are concerned that if this can happen to someone without due process, tomorrow it can happen to a U.S. citizen, and that's exactly what the Supreme Court also is concerned about. So we will continue to advocate for this, and we will continue to advocate for the rule of law.
Yeah. I know a little bit about the Supreme Court and how that works there. And, the word facilitate was, again, we'll see how this all works out. And I don't know how it's ultimately going to come down. But I am very interested in Democrats caring about due process for illegal aliens. What process do you think is still due an individual who 2 courts found had reasonable belief to believe he had an affiliation with MS-13, who his wife initially said had scratched her and caused a bruising on her body? What process would make you feel like the Constitution and our framers' understanding of it would be fulfilled?
So, Laura, you and I can disagree on, this individual in particular. I'm not here to really advocate for one person. That needs to happen in court. No evidence has actually ever been presented.
You went to El Salvador. Now you're saying it's not about him. Of course it's about him.
Due process.
You went to El Salvador.
I like that point because that's the main point of this whole thing, right? And this is what Laura Ingraham understands, but she doesn't like. Because you got to remember, people like Laura Ingraham or Trump, anybody basically in MAGA, they view this as shut up, you uppity brown person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how they view this whole situation. They're like, basically in their mind, if you're brown, you're not from this country, you're lucky to be here to begin with. It's our choice how long you're here. We'll kick you out at any time. That's how they view this.
Yeah.
So they're tired of these people from other countries that come here to have a better life, and someone's making a stink about them. Because in their mind, they shouldn't be here to begin with, and they're lucky they were ever here. And, it's their white people's choice of when they leave.
Right.
I think that's a big part of it.
She's just asking the same questions and then doing everything she can to straw man every single thing.
They hate when you say this isn't about one person because all the right does is use prop pieces to further their agenda.
Mhm.
So if they think that you're going down there to help Kilmar Abrego Garcia or any of the other deported people, they think it's a cynical um, sympathy grab for
Yeah.
the media because that's what they would do.
Mhm.
So when they don't truly understand that this is for democracy in the sense of if you can do this to one person, you can do it to anybody. They have no concept of that because everything for them is a prop piece.
Right, like the one child that was killed by, someone who was
Yeah,
here
yeah, yeah, yeah.
undocumented, they take that and they run with it,
Yeah,
and they apply it to everyone.
absolutely.
They get so upset when we take one person and apply their situation
Mhm.
to everyone.
They don't give a shit about these people.
No.
They get mad that the left and some liberals actually do care. I know
Yeah.
that it makes them mad
Yeah.
because they're like, "Don't you understand?" Tucker Carlson has said this, like, off air. People have had interviews with Tucker Carlson or met him outside of, when he was on TV,
Yeah.
and he has said, like, really, this is just like a game, right?" Like, he has said shit like that.
Mhm.
That's what these people really believe. This is a game to them. This is a ratings game, and this is a besting the other side game. They are it's a popularity contest to them.
And the problem is they're able to manipulate
Yep.
mass amounts of people who are watching their show who think that they actually
Yeah.
care about these issues when if you have any drop of critical thinking available,
Yeah.
you can see right through it. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, critical thinking
Yeah.
is not
They've also demonized
teachable.
every other side or news network for 25 years now. And all they've told you is everything they say is a lie so that they can lie to you.
Hmm.
For a
About
political
this
stunt,
case,
and now you're saying it's not about
It
him.
is. It is
Who
about
is it
this
about then?
case, Laura. It is about the rule of law. This is a bipartisan issue. It transcends partisan
Yeah.
politics. That's why a conservative-leaning Supreme Court has said that Donald Trump must facilitate the return of this individual. This is very dangerous. We are turning into an authoritarian country, and there are Americans from all across the political spectrum who are deeply concerned about this. Again, my office has not received more calls about any other issue since I have been a congresswoman than this one, tariffs being the second one, and the lack of real logical
none of
economic
that's
policy.
robocalls.
But the issue of due process, no, these are
the
and
economy
when we had a
and all
town hall the other night,
secondary.
this is the issue.
Yeah. All right, take
and
a
the
breath.
economy is a mess
All
as
right,
well,
before we
unfortunately,
go-
under this administration.
Yeah.
So
Before we go,
Yeah, we saw enough of that. Clearly, Laura Ingraham is triggered.
Yeah.
And this doesn't matter at all, but Laura Ingraham looks like the halfway point between Skylar White and a house cat. I don't know how else to put it. Do you see it?
Her top lip doesn't move.
No,
And
she
it's
has.
unsettling.
But anyway, thank you for watching, and please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And feel free to click the links below to follow us on our other social medias.